Okay, hello everyone. It is me, Chaos McChaos, Chaos. I can't even say chaos so much because I have just heard it way too many times in the last, I don't know, 48. Feels like 62,000 hours. Anyway, yeah, moving on from memes on the internet and in the Final Fantasy community right now. I wanted to do this quick little video about selection quests and you, or basically what to expect for selection quests for globalers, because you guys are essentially starting to get your selection quest now, and some people's expectations may not necessarily be in line as to what you should expect with this, so I'm just going to go in and talk about it a little bit. And so yes, on the JP side, we have had selection quests for a number of months now. As you can see, we have had light, earth, wind, lightning, and soon are going to be adding dark to the mix. And for globalers, maybe you haven't seen a ton about it. Maybe you've only heard a little bit about it. Maybe you don't know what you should be really looking forward to or what's necessarily reasonable. So let's talk about it. First of all, should be noted for this video that here on the JP side, as of the 1.5 year anniversary, we are now only finally able to use the URs that you get from these quests in these quests. And let me back up for a second and just explain something about selection quests. Selection quests are essentially content made for lower than UR units to have something to really shine in, something to really accelerate at, way more than, you know, URs that essentially dominate every other piece of content. So these are essentially lower, somewhat lower difficulty content that you will be able to obtain. As you can see, these characters and more in the future as more are added to the game. You can get these characters such as Miraga or Vern or Gargus, so on and so forth in that sense from these quests, and these are characters who are essentially full UR characters, except for the fact that they don't have limit bursts. So these are not characters that appear in the gacha at all. The only way to obtain them is essentially to complete the selection quests, get the character, get the shards for them. That's where you will get every piece of thing needed to essentially raise these characters, and you will not have to do any gacha for these characters. So in that sense, selection quests are a really good way for people to get characters, and, you know, maybe characters that don't necessarily need to enter the gacha, keeping the gacha relatively small, so to speak. Anyway, so let's take a look at Thunder, because when it comes to selection quests, you have essentially 10 missions of varying difficulty, or I should say more accurately, increasing difficulty. And not only that, but selection quests do have, if I am just over here, do have their own set of achievements. And as you can see, as you go up, you can get a fair amount of lapis from these, awakening materials, some multi-tickets, and ending with a big bonus for completing them. And needless to say, you will have to work to earn those. So selection quests, just going back in for a second, how difficult are they? Well, I'm not going to make this a very long video, but just to, needless to say, I think that basically 1 through 4 can be done with any reasonably built list of MR units, especially if you are not autoing them. If you are not autoing them, I think 1 through 4 are completable by almost any player in the game and are just pretty easy. I mean, obviously you need some units, and by level 4 you should have maybe into the level 60 or 70, but really it's not that difficult, and it is not impossible. Once you get into level 5 and level 6, that is where things start getting a little bit more dicey. You may not necessarily be able to just auto it, and you certainly won't be able to complete all of the quests, as some of the achievement ones, not necessarily getting the character shards, will require you to use less abilities, but it is essentially for, you know, awakening materials and job materials, so this is not necessarily that important. And as you can see, you can also farm up a certain amount of both awakening materials as well as other resources needed to improve these UR characters that you are getting. Now, Where is the line drawn clearly in the sand between a team that has not been built well enough and a team that has been built well enough? Well, it's right here. Level 7 is the part where things get incredibly serious, where it becomes incredibly un-auto-friendly. So here, as you can see, we have Silma, we have Saria slash Thalia slash whatever name her version is. You have Revis, you have Alum, and last but not least, we have Vern. Should be noted for me for completing the Thunder selection quest up to this point. I actually have enough to get her just to level 74 and not up to LB3 yet. So that should be noted that, you know, if you are looking to do these and if these characters are something you want, well, you're going to have to get pretty darn far to get them up to a high enough level that you can use them in other content. And you will have to spend a fair amount of resources, time, experience, and training trying to get your characters ready for these. So I already know that the outcome that is going to happen here, but let me show you how difficult level 7 is just autoing, just not even trying. I'm not having any intention of winning this, but let's show how difficult it is. And to show that, I guess I do want to take auto off for a second because I do want to show what is available on the map. You take a look at these characters right here, and they're not that difficult. They are not that strong. What is strong are the specific units with names. As you can see, we have Oldoa there, and up here, Moraga has about 15,000 HP. So this is in my opinion, the real part where the games, where these selection quests start changing from, oh yeah, you can maybe do this, to, maybe you can't do this. This is the part where you really need to have a well-trained team, because these maps are just serious. They are not screwing around. They will just flat out kill you, and specifically, Moraga is an Earth Elemental character, so he does have a pretty big advantage against your own character, since you're essentially only bringing Thunder Elemental stuff. And obviously, we would be doing better if we were doing this, but I really just want to prove how potentially strong this map is. So you can see our two most highly leveled, highly damaging characters are gone. They're dead. We don't have a good level of re-raise, so this is a problem. You can see the counters a little bit. So it's not impossible. I do think that this is very capable of doing, but I would say for globalers who don't necessarily know what to expect for these kind of quests, they are just pretty darn difficult. Oh good, his raise didn't work. So you have to build your teams. It does take a amount of strategy. Oh look, we got Drain Force. This is essentially over at this point. We killed at least a few units, I guess. I guess that's good enough for this video, but level 7 is really the point where auto is not viable. Even if you were an incredible whale with just everything, I don't necessarily know if you could just auto this content still. But yeah. Maybe a good eye awakener for what essentially you can do. Selection quests do sound great because you can get, they are a source, an extra source of lapis, they are an extra source potentially of awakening material, but if you do really want to get far, you are going to have to commit a lot of your resources to raising characters you may not have raised otherwise, and you need more than one. You need multiple characters raised. So yeah, selection quests, they are good for getting us characters and keeping those characters out of the gacha and keeping the gacha, you know, still relatively small. But if you're thinking that it's going to be a cakewalk in the park just because they are lower tier units, no. And it could be that also that Global's content will be adjusted for you guys. Maybe it might be a little bit easier. I hope so to some extent. Maybe you'll be able to use the URs right from the get-go. But regardless, you should note that some of these things are really serious. And if you want to get one of these characters up to LB3, you at least need to make it through number 7, and it will only still get more challenging from there. But it is possible, you can do it, so plan your resources, think wisely, pick the characters you really like and think are worth this kind of investment, and enjoy. So thank you very much for watching, take care, and how to ruin your day. That was just a joke. A stupid joke. Anyway, thanks for watching, see you in the next video.